The stage was set for what promised to be a routine promotional appearance on Gutfeld, Fox News' irreverent late-night talk show. Brad Pitt, the Hollywood icon known for his charm, charisma, and a career spanning decades, walked onto the set to promote his latest film, a gritty war drama that had already sparked Oscar buzz. The live audience erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the brightly lit studio as Pitt flashed his signature megawatt smile. But no one, not the audience, not the producers, not even Pitt himself, was prepared for what would unfold next. What began as a light-hearted interview would spiral into a confrontation that would dominate headlines, ignite social media, and leave viewers questioning where the line between provocation and cruelty lies. This was a moment that would go down in television history. The Gutfeld studio buzzed with energy as the show went live. The set was a sleek blend of modern talk show aesthetics, a polished desk where host Greg Gutfeld sat, flanked by his panel of co-hosts, including the sharp-tongued Tyrus and the quick-witted Cat Timpf. The audience, a mix of loyal fans and curious newcomers, filled the tiered seats, their anticipation palpable. Overhead, cameras whirred softly, their lenses trained on the guest chair where Pitt would soon sit. The air was thick with the hum of studio lights and the faint rustle of cue cards being shuffled backstage. Producers hovered in the control room, headsets on, ready to orchestrate another high-energy episode. As the show's theme music faded, Gutfeld leaned forward, his trademark smirk in place. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a real treat, a man who needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give him one anyway. Please welcome the one, the only Brad Pitt." The crowd roared as Pitt strode out, dressed in a tailored navy suit, his hair slightly tousled in that effortless way only he could pull off. He waved, shaking hands with a few front-row audience members before settling into the guest chair. The atmosphere was warm, almost festive. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. The interview began predictably enough. Gutfeld, known for his biting humor and conservative-leaning commentary, started with softball questions about Pitt's new film, No Man's Land. "So, Brad," Gutfeld said, leaning back in his chair, "this movie's got tanks, explosions, and you looking all stoic and heroic. Is this your bid to finally win that Best Actor Oscar that's been dodging you?" Pitt chuckled, his eyes crinkling with amusement. "You know, Greg, I'm just happy to tell a good story. Oscars are nice, but it's about the work, not the hardware." The audience clapped, charmed by his humility. Cat Timpf, sitting to Gutfeld's left, nodded approvingly, while Tyrus let out a low, "Well said, man." But the friendly vibe didn't last. Gutfeld's smirk widened, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Sure, all about the work. But let's get real for a second, Brad. You're Mr. Hollywood, right? Private jets, mansions, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't it ever feel a bit hypocritical to play these gritty, everyman roles when you're living a life most of us can't even dream of?" The question landed like a jab. The audience let out a collective gasp, a few nervous laughs rippling through the crowd. Pitt's smile faltered for a split second, but he recovered quickly, leaning forward slightly. "I hear you, Greg," he said, his voice calm but measured. "Acting's about stepping into someone else's shoes, telling their truth. My life off-screen doesn't change the story we're trying to tell." Gutfeld tilted his head, undeterred. "Come on, Brad. You're telling me you relate to the guy digging trenches in your movie? When was the last time you got your hands dirty? Outside of a film set, I mean." The audience shifted uncomfortably, sensing the shift in tone. Cat Timpf fidgeted with her pen, glancing at Tyrus, who raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. Pitt's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. "I think we all get our hands dirty in our own way, Greg," he said, his tone still diplomatic. "Life's not just about where you live or what you own. It's about the choices you make, the people you impact." The audience murmured in agreement, a few clapping softly, but Gutfeld wasn't letting up. "Oh, choices, huh?" Gutfeld said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Like the choice to pal around with certain A-listers who've got, let's say, questionable reputations? Or to stay silent on issues you claim to care about when it suits your brand?" He paused for effect, letting the words hang in the air. The studio fell silent, the hum of the cameras suddenly deafening. A woman in the front row clutched her phone, her thumb hovering over the record button. Pitt's eyes narrowed, his fingers curling slightly on the armrest of his chair. "You want to talk about choices, Greg?" he said, his voice low but steady. "How about the choice to drag someone's personal life into a conversation about their work? That's a choice too, isn't it?" The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and gasps. Kat Timpf tried to interject, her voice light but nervous. "Okay, guys, let's maybe keep it on the movie." But Gutfeld waved her off, his grin now bordering on predatory. No, Kat, we're just getting started. Brad, you're a big advocate for certain causes, right? But where were you when redacted controversial issue was blowing up? Too busy sipping champagne at Ken? The accusation hit like a sucker punch. Pitt's face hardened, his blue eyes locking onto Gutfeld's. The studio was a pressure cooker now, the tension thick enough to choke on. Tyrus shifted in his seat, muttering something under his breath, while backstage, producers exchanged frantic looks through the glass of the control room. A stagehand froze mid-step, his clipboard clutched to his chest. Pitt took a slow breath, his voice steady but laced with steel. "Greg, I came here to talk about a film that honors the sacrifices of real people. But you seem more interested in playing gotcha. If you've got something to say it straight. Don't hide behind cheap shots." The audience erupted again, some cheering Pitt's defiance, others whispering to their neighbors, unsure where this was headed. Gutfeld leaned forward undaunted. "Cheap shots? Brad, I'm just asking what everyone's thinking. You're out here playing heroes, but are you living like one? Or is it all just a performance?" The studio was a powder keg, and Pitt's next move would determine whether it exploded. Would he walk away with his dignity intact, or would he deliver a verbal knockout that would leave Gutfeld scrambling? One thing was certain, this moment was already going viral, with audience members discreetly recording on their phones, the clips destined to flood X within minutes. What happened next would shock the world, and spark a debate that would rage for weeks. Stay tuned for part 2 to see how this explosive confrontation unfolds. What do you think of Gutfeld's tactics? Was Pitt right to push back? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Gutfeld studio was a pressure cooker, the air thick with anticipation. Brad Pitt sat rigid in his chair, his blue eyes burning into Greg Gutfeld, who leaned back with a smirk that teetered between confidence and provocation. The audience held its breath, their phones already recording, capturing every second of the escalating showdown. The hum of the cameras seemed to amplify the silence, broken only by the faint creak of Pitt's chair as he shifted forward, his hands now clasped tightly on his lap. "You want to talk performance, Greg?" Pitt said, his voice low but cutting through the studio like a blade. "Let's talk about yours. You sit here, night after night, throwing darts at people's lives for laughs and ratings. That's your game, right? Tear someone down, get a soundbite, call it entertainment." His words were measured, but the edge in his tone sent a ripple through the crowd. A few audience members clapped hesitantly, while others exchanged wide-eyed glances. Gutfeld's smirk faltered for a split second, but he recovered quickly, leaning forward with a theatrical shrug. "Oh, come on, Brad. Don't get all high and mighty. This is showbiz, you know how it works. People tune in for the truth, not your polished PR answers." He turned to the audience, arms spread wide. "Am I right, folks?" A smattering of applause followed, but it was tepid, uncertain. The crowd was divided, and the tension was palpable. Kat Timpf, sensing the interview spiraling, tried again to steer the conversation. "Hey, maybe we can talk about the film's production? I heard the stunts were insane." But Gutfeld cut her off with a wave of his hand, his eyes locked on Pitt. "No, Kat, let's not dodge this. Brad, you're dodging. You talk a big game about honoring sacrifices in your movie, but when it comes to the real world, where's your sacrifice? Where's your skin in the game?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine. Backstage, a producer muttered into her headset, "This is getting out of hand." Tyrus, usually a stoic presence, shifted uncomfortably, his massive frame leaning forward as if ready to intervene. The studio lights felt hotter, the air heavier, as every eye turned to Pitt. Pitt's jaw clenched, his fingers tightening until his knuckles whitened. For a moment, it seemed he might walk away, his silence stretching just long enough to make the audience squirm. Then he leaned forward, his voice steady but laced with a quiet fury that silenced the room. "Greg, you want to know about sacrifice?" Pitt began, his tone deceptively calm. "I've spent years telling stories about people who've lost everything: soldiers, families, everyday folks who don't get a red carpet to make their pain look pretty. I don't pretend to be them, but I damn well respect them. And you? You sit here, twisting their stories, my story, anyone's story, into cheap gotcha moments. That's not truth. That's just noise." The studio erupted. Half the audience leapt to their feet, cheering wildly, while others sat in stunned silence, their phones still recording. A woman in the third row wiped a tear from her cheek, her hands trembling. Cat Timp's mouth hung open, and even Tyrus let out a low "Whoa." Gutfeld, for the first time, looked rattled, his fingers drumming nervously on the desk. But he wasn't done. "Noise?" Gutfeld shot back, his voice rising. "Brad, you're the one selling dreams to millions while you live in a bubble. Don't lecture me about truth when you pick and choose your causes to look good for the cameras." He gestured to the audience, trying to rally them. "This guy's out here playing savior, but he's just another Hollywood hypocrite, right?" The crowd's reaction was mixed, some boos, some cheers, and a lot of confused murmuring. Pitt didn't flinch. He stood slowly, his movements deliberate, the microphone clipped to his jacket catching the faint rustle of his suit. The cameras zoomed in, the operators scrambling to keep up. "You know what, Greg?" Pitt said, his voice now carrying a weight that seemed to pin Gutfeld to his chair. "I came here to talk about a film that means something to me, to the people who inspired it. But you're not interested in that. You're interested in tearing people down to build yourself up. I'm done playing your game." With that, Pitt unclipped his microphone and dropped it onto the chair with a soft thud. The sound echoed in the silent studio, a punctuation mark to his exit. He turned and walked toward the stage's edge, his steps steady, his head high. The audience was on its feet now, some cheering, others shouting in protest, their voices blending into a chaotic roar. A producer's voice crackled through the control room. "Go to commercial! Now!" As Pitt disappeared behind the curtain, the studio descended into pandemonium. Gutfeld tried to regain control, forcing a laugh. "Well, folks, that's Hollywood for ya, can't handle a little heat." But his quip fell flat, drowned out by the audience's divided reactions. Cat Timp looked visibly shaken, muttering, "That was intense," while Tyrus just shook his head, his expression unreadable. Backstage, producers scrambled to figure out how to salvage the segment, their voices overlapping in a frenzy of panic. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation were flooding X, TikTok, and YouTube. Hashtags like hashtag Brad Pitt walks out and hashtag Gutfeld vs. Pitt trended worldwide, with users split down the middle. Some praised Pitt for standing up to what they called Gutfeld's bullying, while others accused him of being too sensitive, unable to handle tough questions. Memes of Pitt's mic drop and Gutfeld's stunned expression went viral, racking up millions of views. In the days that followed, the clash became a cultural lightning rod. Entertainment outlets dissected every moment, with some calling Pitt's exit a masterclass in dignity, and others labeling it a publicity stunt. Gutfeld doubled down on his show the next night, dismissing Pitt as another fragile celebrity. But the backlash was fierce, with even some of his regular viewers calling his tactics cruel. Pitt, meanwhile, remained silent, letting his actions speak for themselves. His film, No Man's Land, saw a surge in buzz, with many citing the controversy as proof of his commitment to meaningful storytelling. The incident sparked a broader conversation about the role of talk shows in an era of instant outrage. Was Gutfeld's provocation a legitimate challenge to Hollywood's elite, or had he crossed the line into personal attacks? Was Pitt's walkout a stand for integrity or an overreaction? The debate raged on, with viewers flooding comment sections to weigh in. What do you think? Was Pitt right to walk away, or should he have stayed to fight it out? Did Gutfeld go too far, or was he just doing his job? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. One thing's for sure, this moment will be talked about for years to come. The dust had barely settled in the Gutfeld studio when the confrontation between Brad Pitt and Greg Gutfeld exploded across the internet. Within hours, clips of Pitt's mic drop and steely exit were viewed millions of times, sparking heated debates on X, TikTok, and beyond. Some hailed Pitt as a hero for standing up to what they saw as Gutfeld's relentless provocation, while others criticized him for dodging tough questions with a dramatic walkout. Gutfeld, never one to shy away from controversy, leaned into the chaos, framing Pitt as a Hollywood snowflake on his next episode. But the public's response was divided, and the moment became more than just a viral clip, it became a mirror reflecting deeper tensions in our culture. The fallout was swift. Pitt's film, No Man's Land, surged in attention, with early screenings selling out as fans rallied behind his defense of storytelling with purpose. Commentators praised his restraint and dignity, noting how he turned a personal attack into a broader statement about respect. Meanwhile, Gutfeld faced backlash, even from some loyal viewers, who felt his jabs crossed into cruelty. Op-eds flooded major outlets, dissecting the ethics of talk show provocation. Was Gutfeld exposing hypocrisy, or was he weaponizing his platform to humiliate? The question lingered, fueling discussions in living rooms and comment sections alike. At its core, this clash was about more than a celebrity spat. It was a collision of values, authenticity versus spectacle, dignity versus ratings-driven drama. Pitt's stand, his refusal to play Gutfeld's game, underscored a powerful lesson: true strength lies in knowing when to walk away. By choosing silence over shouting, he exposed the hollowness of provocation for provocation's sake. Yet Gutfeld's defenders argued he was holding a powerful figure accountable, challenging the polished veneer of celebrity culture. Both sides had merit, and that ambiguity was what made the moment resonate so deeply. The incident also sparked a reckoning about the role of talk shows in an era of polarized media. Are they platforms for dialogue or arenas for gladiatorial combat? Pitt's exit challenged viewers to demand more substance, more respect, more humanity. It was a reminder that stories, whether on screen or in real life, carry weight, and those who tell them deserve to be heard, not baited. As the debate raged on, one thing was clear: this wasn't just a Hollywood story. It was a call to reflect on how we engage with each other, on air and off. So, who was right? Was Pitt's walkout a triumph of principle or an evasion of scrutiny? Did Gutfeld push too far, or was he just doing his job? The answers depend on where you stand, but the conversation is far from over. Share your thoughts below. What does this moment say about our culture, and how should we move forward?